Hello, this is Gerald Overhaus. I have made the same video in German as an attempt to have a video in German, but just for most of my viewers I will change it again into an English version. It will be slightly improvised, so it might be slightly different as well as the German one. But what I wanted to explain here in this video is an introduction, slight introduction of what to expect of my theory and of my example. And I chose actually this German word BERG, which means mountain, and GEBIRGE, which is the plural, or mountains, or the mountain, the whole set of mountains actually as a different word which has a different orientation, and it changes the word with a GE in the beginning, and it changes the E into an E. And I will explain that in that video in German, so let's now go to the English version. The introduction here I will repeat also. I will repeat the introduction also slightly. So the theory is based upon orientations, upon letters, and I will say that they have a fixed meaning, meaning that they have an orientation that is fixed. Not a fixed meaning, they have a fixed orientation, and by combining these orientations you can figure out actually what the words mean. Why is it meaningful? Because it's actually the basis of how we orientate ourselves in the first place. So we have a way how we orientate ourselves in space with the 1, 2, 3 ways to orientate ourselves of places, or also the horizontal, vertical, diagonal also helps you to guide you to find the proper place. And there's some variations in there where you can recognize also certain places and how things behave there as well, what kind of form they get if you just focus upon 1, 2 or 3 things. 3 differences actually, and that is all seen in just one go. You can see and recognize that idea very quickly, and that's because it's so automatically. You can have also automated associations from these positions onwards. If the spaces move too much, or the things in space move too much, we follow directions, and we need a time process for it. That's a second category. And if the place and the timing changes all the time, it means that okay, we still have something to define there, and that is actually a kind of behavior which is the same actually at any place or at any timing or time moment that we can go to. We can actually pick out any moment or any place where that definition will fit. That's the last category. So these 3 categories are enough to understand all the foundations of all the letters. Let's go to BERG, or BERG, which is the mountain, and it starts with the letter B. The focus of B is in space, and it focuses upon the edges actually of already what is getting a form. So ATK is into 1 dimension, it's just about the place. ULB is more than a place, it's about, you're watching actually the 2-dimensional space, and it's more than space. You have a room to also have attention to the form. And if it's at the edges, okay, well, let's focus upon the edges. In the diagonal sense, it's also it's already extending its positions actually to the borders of that region in space, and we can easily associate with the form as well. The next letter is the E, which is from the second category, which is also about timing. It's about time. It also tells you it takes the time before we get there. You can take that literal also. It takes a time to develop. It takes a time to extend. So, and if we do that physically and also in space, we can also see that very often in that region that we are focusing upon. If the region of extension takes the time to develop, it's also getting longer, just along with that time process as well. So we have an extension that takes the time to develop. Not just that, it's also with the horizontal, vertical, and diagonal are still measurements that we're dealing with in the background, and it's about directions. So we really are talking about, no, the direction that dominates there will be the vertical sense. So that's where the form can develop itself most easily, and you can see it develops also most easily. So it's going towards the hate. So that's what we do when the extensions go towards a hate and takes the time for it. You know, it's very quickly we have that idea already from mountain, even if we're only 2 letters far. Actually, B and E are already going into that direction. With R, it connects to this form. It can connect from any side here, go from underneath to up, but I can go also from the top to from somewhere else towards it. R is always connecting to and connecting from, so that you can have actually this evolution that connects actually the whole process of growing actually as well, physically and spatially. All these measurements will also connect to the letter G, so it's spatially and measurements that I just said, I was a bit too quickly, have to do with that definition. So this definition, the last category is about definitions. It says the definition that we're trying to figure out, it comes from space. First row is about space. It comes from space. We're developing it. We connect to it from space at the third condition, and we try to have a measurement of the limits of where we go to. The limits goes to bigger possibilities, more possibilities, and so it also usually is a definition which reflects actually bigger definitions, bigger values, bigger kinds of dependencies of values as well somewhere else, and that's the G. That is this form that I had here up. And so in a way, if I reflect that into a form, into this extension, and into the extension of G, of the G, you'll see that the mountain is rising up from actually a whole bigger sense of rising in the background. That's the mountain also expressed in it very well. And you have the B there, the R up or down, it depends how you see it. The E, the lifted up in a direction, and the G, connected to bigger measurements of the same kind, and then of course connected to it. GEBIRGE, or the plural, is much more than just say, like in English, you just add an S and you say, okay, then you can have the various possibilities with it. GE in the beginning is something else. It's more connecting to the bigger concept which you had there in the background, the G with the A. In the time also to develop, it takes the time to develop to these bigger values. It is about that bigger values development, and that's the GEBIRGE as well, the full mountains range, actually mountains range as well. So it's much more about I don't know if there's an English word for, it's not just mountains, it's a mountain range as well that you're reflecting this word too. The E changes into I. So while E is about development, the I is actually lifting something out, which actually says, okay, but there is, you can find it anywhere, but there will be a specific place where you say, okay, but here I recognize the separate entity which still has the same values as in the big one, but it separates itself as a pattern that you can also see it in small part. Here it is especially more visible. And that's what it is. So you have this mountain range with higher and lower abilities of rising up, like the BERG, like the mountain itself does. You can pick out one mountain which is higher than another. It also even lifts it up even as a tone to a higher position as well, because of this sound that is related with the E. And I hope this was clear enough. Probably it's much better than the German one. Maybe if I do it in my own language, it will be even much better. But I hope you enjoyed this one. And I hope you also forgive sometimes that my English also isn't always so perfect, but I hope you understand what I'm trying to explain from the theory that I was prepared in sound in form. Thanks again for watching. Bye.